And welcome to this Thursday lunchtime edition of Footy Talks, presented by Benjamin Moore. Ali, how are you? How is life treating you now outside the bubble?
That's good. It's kind of like it goes in phases. Inside the bubble is pretty good. Outside the bubble, it was kind of within our own little bubble because we were in quarantine for 14 days, and then so it's good to kind of be part of the community again, driving around. Got a couple meetings and hanging out, so that's been good.
Ali, how do you look back at the tournament? I know it ended a bit more prematurely than you would like to have for your club. Only just ended for us as broadcasters this week with a really successful tournament, I think, for Major League Soccer. But how do you look back and be involved in it for you as a general manager of TFC? How did it go for you?
I think that there was a lot of positive takeaways. I think much like everyone in so many different industries, the key word is just adapt and trying to be successful, not taking excuses. I think the first 5 to 7 days within the bubble were challenging, just because with the level of uncertainty and the rumors that you heard before the bubble. But once you got in and got acclimated, it was really good. The fields were good. It was good to get back to competition. I think we learned a little bit about ourselves and learned a little bit about kind of what life was going to be like, or at least the competition was going to be like, with no fans and all that and all those types of things that we never really experienced. So we had some good performances. You had a guy like Io really kind of take a next step, and hopefully that can continue with some consistency. And I thought overall we did fairly well as a team. I thought we didn't execute as well as we would have liked to in the second half of that first game against DC. You win that game and then you're pulling away 7 points from the group stage in terms of 2 wins and a tie. But overall, I thought we played well. Of course, the last game against NYCFC, we know, we could have come out different. We needed to come out differently against such a quality opponent. But it's a game that we wish we could take back, but we can't. But a lot of good takeaways, and looking forward to the next phase of the season.
Ali, I know you guys always like to win tournaments when you're in competitions, but was the major incentive or goal from this tournament to try and get the maximum group points heading into what hopefully will be phase 1, 2, 3 of MLS is back and back to regular season play?
Yeah, so a lot of different phases. It's the group stage, and then the of the MLS is back tournament, and then the playoffs, and then it's back to the regular season, and then it's the playoffs. And you try to be successful in every way. Ultimately, we want to finish what we started last year, and we made it to MLS Cup, and hopefully we can win that final game this year. And so in that sense, it was really important, like you said, Stephen, to get maximum points during the group stage of the tournament means so much. And staying undefeated, I think, during the group stage says a lot just in terms of what we can have to build on as we go into the regular season. So it was good to get the 5 points that we did, to go undefeated during that group stage, and we can build on that. Of course, we got to look at the video in terms of the game against NYCFC, and we learned a lot about that game as well, in terms of schedule congestion and how that impacts you physically and all those other types of things. We had some performances from players and that we learned about as well. So it was great to get the points that we need. Now we're focused on what's next. We'll see how that goes, but exciting to kind of get back to playing games.
Well, you talk about being focused on what's next there, Ali. What is next? Is there any further information about what comes now for yourselves and the 3 Canadian teams who were expecting to play against each other over the course of the next few weeks? Where's that at right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of uncertainty, in terms of what's happening with our season, and uncertainty, of course, just because that's the world that we live in right now. Where Canada is at is they're in a much different place than where the U.S. is at, and so I really the way Canada has managed through the pandemic with cases and all these types of things, has really they've done it in a really good way. And so everything that's happening south of the border in terms of what's happening in the U.S. Impacts what's going on. We're working with MLS, we're working with local government in terms of how we can, continue our season and playing against, the other Canadian opponents in Vancouver and Montreal. My understanding is that there'll be news about that later on today in terms of how we can get back to playing. Ultimately, we need to have approvals from not just, all the relevant government associations, but also MLS. And so my understanding is that we'll have some information on that later today, which hopefully will be exciting, and we'll give a little bit more details in terms of when, where, and what time we'll be playing.
And how many scenarios do you have moving forward after that? I think what the league is doing is very wise in terms of the 6-game blocks and the different stages of the regular season not coming out now. And as we've seen with Major League Baseball having to tear up a schedule 3 or 4 days into it. How do you plan right now for what comes after you've played against these Canadian teams? And there have been reports that you might decamp and go to the Red Bulls or possibly to some other Eastern Conference teams and just hang out there for a little while. How many options or balls are you juggling in the air right now, Ali, with waiting to see where this all lands?
Yeah, there's a lot of balls that we're juggling in the air. A lot of different options and different scenarios. It seems like each day is a different scenario. So I think if we look at it first is how can we get back to playing within Canada, and then hopefully the next phase of what's going on is how can we figure out what's going to happen once we've done hopefully playing Vancouver and Montreal a few times. And so we're exploring every single option. Ideally, I think the information that we're getting back is that what's safest is if we can really find solutions that reduce travel, that reduce contact, where we're still able to isolate and those types of things. And so those are kind of the guideposts. But in terms of the actual solutions, in terms of, is it a Toronto Blue Jays type scenario? Is there something different? We don't have those answers right now. We're working on them. And, the only thing we can do is continue every single day. We're talking to the government, and we're talking to MLS. We're talking to other MLS clubs to figure out what makes sense, what are different solutions. I think hopefully, we'll hopefully have some more answers in the coming weeks or so. But right now we don't have those solutions, but everybody's working tirelessly each day to try to figure out all the different options.
And Ali, as you manage a squad, and obviously the manager is in your title, with that lack of clarity, how are you managing your players? What is the message to them right now when I'm sure there's a lot of questions coming in, and really you just probably want them to focus on what they do best as a footballer, do you?
Yeah, we're trying to, the theme with all these things, whether a football player, whether you're a parent, is to be able to adapt, and the questions for us as parents are, is your child going to go to school, is physically in school, they're going to be online, all these, and still the decision that you make, maybe not even having certainty and conviction in terms of what that looks like. The reality is that this is a virus that we're learning more about each day. And what we try to do internally is to take that spirit that we're going to have to adapt. There's going to be changes. Training times may change, game times may change, all these different types of things of uncertainty. But the one thing that we know is that we've been playing this game for our entire lives, and so that's what we're focused on. And to the extent we can get back to playing, that's got to be our sanctuary, so we can have our best chances of success. So really, and trying to give as much information as possible when we receive it. So, and our players and our staff knowing that things may change, but to the extent we can provide information, we started a steady stream of dialogue and communication internally with our players every Tuesday and Friday. They, at a minimum, they receive an email as to the updates in terms of what's going on from training, from conversations with the league, conversations with local government. They understand that all those things are subject to change. So trying to be honest and transparent about the situation, even if we don't have an answer or there isn't a solution, is information. And those are some of the things that we're trying to do at the club to really to have calm minds, to be adaptable so that we can have our best chance at success.
And Ali, I'm just wondering here how difficult that is to do that within, you know, a global transfer window. You've got players potentially coming and going. I'm sure there's inquiries for your players or guys that you like. And how do you navigate that when you don't really know what your schedule is, who you can allow to leave the club on a short or long-term basis, or bringing people in? Is that another intricacy, a difficulty that comes into the discussion here?
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, especially, you know, when you look at even not just the first team, but also our USL team, where we were unable to have a season with that team. And so, you know, a lot of the conversations that we've had is not just with first team players and agents and those types of things, but also with our second team and those agents. And where are we going to find programming for those players? And can we loan them out to a CPL team, or can we loan them out to, you know, an international club? Where is that club? How are they handling safety regulations and quarantine periods and those types of things? So what we're doing is trying to communicate as best as we can, trying to involve, you know, all the different authorities at an early stage, having conversations with MLS, probably more so than we've ever had, in terms of when there's an idea, there's a thought, or how to create a solution for potential transaction or potential issue. Really having, you know, conversations internally within MLSC with regard to our immigration council and all those types of things. So just trying to communicate with as many people as possible. And then even when we've done that, we're not in control of everything. So, you know, what I would say is, though, we feel good about the group. You know, of course, the tournament didn't end how we wanted it to, but I think we've got a lot of quality into the side. And hopefully once we get healthy, fully healthy, and going, I think we've got a good team, and I think we've got a really great chance of achieving our goals this year.
Well, from the day that you arrived in Toronto, Ali, I think it's fair to say that there have been a fair few challenges thrown your way in different kinds of situations from the moment you walked through the door. Maybe things that you would never have expected would have happened. But I know you've got to rush to a meeting. Really appreciate you coming out. Just one last question. It's a really important one as well, because we heard from Justin Morrow and from some other players within your organization about your leadership through a difficult time, and especially your involvement with what was going on with the Black Players for Change, and that your participation meant so much to them in that show of unity before that first game at the MLS's back tournament. So I want to get your thoughts on what that was like for you, being involved in all of that.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for sharing that. What I would say is it's an you know, incredibly emotional and challenging period of time for everyone of all gender, all races, all colors. We're all just trying to deal with all these types of things, and adding a layer with regard to the pandemic, it makes it even that much more challenging. I just personally, like, you know, I try to just, you know, whether it's communication to my staff and my players, and even in communication with Justin and all the folks that are included in Black Players for Change, is just to really try to come from a place of truth and authenticity, try to be transparent with our message, try to be real with people in these different times, to be open, to be 24/7 as well. And, you know, I was really proud of Justin and the group. I mean, they as a former player as well in MLS, you know, they did something that no group of Black players in the history of Major League Soccer was ever able to do, and they organized in a very great way, in a powerful way, and got together, formed a group, got aligned, created goals, and started to make some action. And, you know, the demonstration, the event on the first game was just a powerfully emotional and fantastic night, and it was one of the most one of the greatest memories I'll ever have in my life. And I was really, I just felt fortunate to be a part of it. And it wasn't just, you know, on being on the field was one aspect of it. It was just taking the elevator down and seeing everyone in the lobby and walking through the hallway and seeing the, you know, because it was a bit top secret. You know, it was an amazing night. And, you know, I think it was powerful for the people involved, and I think it was powerful for the people that watched and that saw. So elated to be part of it, and fortunate and honored. So, you know, we're supporting Justin. We also, it was one of those moments where you support every other player on every other team. And it was a real brotherhood that we experienced, you know, in that moment, and still do, you know. And I think that we all in industries now, we're all around, and we're finding ways to connect in a way that is so much stronger and authentic than it was when we just had the luxury of having a cup of tea with someone, or just a coffee, or just a chat, you know, in the hallway. So it was such a moment, and it was great, and I was honored to be part of it. I'm proud as well to be part of it, and proud of every individual that had a part in that. And I'd also, you know, would be remiss if I did not give MLS a lot of credit as a league for helping organize that. You know, it's really difficult to bring that amount of people during a pandemic, to make sure everyone's safe in such a quick amount of time. And I thought they did a great job in helping with transportation and logistics and all these types of things. You know, it was an organic and natural event. At the same time, there was a lot of behind the scenes and people working very, very diligently to make it happen. So it was incredible. It was incredible.
Thanks, Ali, for being
Fantastic.
with us. We always appreciate you taking the time to come on, your openness, your honesty. We look forward to whatever comes, whether it's later this afternoon or the next couple of days, with an announcement of what happens moving forward, and seeing TFC and the rest of the Canadian team back on the pitch very soon.
Thanks, Ali. Great job.
Thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys having me. Hope you and your families are well. Be in touch soon. Call me anytime.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ali.
Ali.